In March 2021, a private jet touched down in the Swiss Alps. Stepping out was Vladislav Klyushin, a wealthy Russian tech mogul with ties to the Kremlin. He was there for a luxury family ski vacation, but the FBI had other plans. Just as Klyushin was about to board a helicopter to the slopes, Swiss authorities, acting on a US warrant, placed him in handcuffs. This wasn't just a random arrest. It was the climax of a global game of cat and mouse.
This is the story of one of the most damaging insider trading rings of all time, and the
is Vladislav Klyushin. Fabulously successful company. He's cultivated connections at the highest levels of the Russian government, and he works for the office of the Russian president, Vladimir Putin, all part of the dangerous underworld of the global financial system.
Klyushin was the CEO of M13, a Moscow-based firm that claimed to provide cybersecurity and media monitoring. In reality, investigators say it was a front for one of the most sophisticated insider trading schemes in history. The public, M13 was a prestigious IT firm whose clients included the administration of the President of the Russian Federation. But behind the scenes, Klyushin worked with a team of hackers, including Ivan Ermakov, a former officer in the Russian military intelligence agency, the GRU. Ermakov wasn't a stranger to the FBI. He had already been indicted for his role in the 2016 election interference. Together, they realized that they didn't need to guess where stocks were going if they could see the future. They didn't target the banks. They targeted the filing agents and Wall Street. The hack was elegant and devastating. The M13 team deployed malicious software to harvest login credentials from employees at these filing firms. Once inside, they could view and download quarterly earnings reports, days or even hours before they became public. They had the answer key to Wall Street. If a company like Tesla, Microsoft, or Roku was about to report a massive profit, Klyushin and his co-conspirators would buy up shares. If the news was bad, they would short the stock. By the time the public heard the news, the M13 team had already cashed out. Between 2018 and 2020, they turned a $9 million investment into nearly $100 million in profits, a return of over 900%. People don't predict earnings, they preload them. Fastest trader isn't the guy with the best algorithm, it's the guy who already saw the email. Here's a concept. Earnings are a schedule, emails are a pipeline, and humans are the weak point. Companies send drafts. Lawyers mark them up, PR teams polish them, and somewhere in that chain, someone hits send. So you don't need a magical crystal ball, you need a password, or one person who clicks the wrong link at 10 a.m. Allegedly, this crew stole non-public earnings data from US companies and traded ahead of announcements, while Wall Street just goes on as usual. Meanwhile, someone's literally trading off stolen emails. The targets included big attention-grabbing tech firms. CNBC mentions Tesla among them. If you ever wondered why a stock moves for no reason before earnings, congratulations, you're asking the right question. Because markets don't wait for the headline, they wait for whoever saw the headline first. Now surely, wouldn't the system catch this instantly? Investigators described a crew that was organized, persistent, and most importantly, profitable. Because when your hacker is former intelligence, you're not just stealing money, you're testing capability. And Wall Street is a perfect practice range. High rewards, slow detection. Everyone assumes it's just volatility. But the thing about trading on stolen earnings is you have to place real trades, and real trades obviously leave footprints. Someone has to open accounts, move money, convert currencies, pay people, and that's where humans get messy. The reporting describes FBI agents and DOJ prosecutors chasing the case across borders. And then came the travel moment every untouchable guy eventually has, a vacation. Klyushin boarded a private jet for a ski trip to the Swiss Alps and didn't realize the trip was a trap. That's the part where people forget. Global finance is borderless, but handcuffs are extremely local. After Klyushin was nabbed in Switzerland, he fought extradition for months, claiming the charges were a political pretext to squeeze him for Kremlin secrets. But he lost. In 2023, a federal jury in Boston found him guilty of wire fraud and securities fraud. he was sentenced to 9 years in prison and ordered to forfeit $34 million. But as it turns out, Klyushin wouldn't be staying in a US cell for long. From there, the legal story becomes a slow grind, extradition flights, diplomacy, and the world's least fun paperwork. And in the background, politics, because when the defendant is Russian and the targets are American, nothing stays just criminal. CNBC describes a former Russian spy explaining why this kind of operation mattered to Putin. Value is leverage, proof he can actually touch the US systems. And also, let's be honest, cybersecurity companies is the most flexible job title. Retail traders are out there fighting over RSI divergences. Other people are fighting over stolen PDFs. That's why finance is brutal. You can be right, and you still lose to someone who got the answer key. And yes, authorities do chase these cases, but they move at government speed, which is basically dial-up. CNBC says investigators got access to crooks' own text messages. Always a downfall. Criminals love receipts. But here's a twist. This story doesn't end the way finance bros want. Caught, punished, and locked up. Because geopolitics doesn't care about your sense of justice, it cares about bargaining chips. On August 1, 2024, the largest multinational prisoner swap since the Cold War took place, in exchange for the release of Americans like journalist Evan Gershkovich and veteran Paul Whelan. The US sent several Russians back to Moscow. Among them was Vladislav Klyushin. Just 3 years after his high-profile arrest, the man who hacked Wall Street was back on Russian soil, greeted personally by Vladimir Putin. The case of M13 remains a chilling reminder of how cybersecurity can be weaponized, not just for secrets, but for billions. Allegedly hack Wall Street, make $90 million, get caught, and then get traded like you're the first round pick. That's a finance brain lesson. The real hedge is not options. It's citizenship and leverage. I also notice how nobody in this story is surprised. Ever wondered whether this still happens? I can't answer that, but I can point at incentives. Earnings are still emailed, humans still click, and the black market for information is extremely liquid. So next time the stock moves early and Twitter calls it smart money, maybe it's just stolen money. Markets don't reward virtue, they reward advantage, and advantage doesn't always come from analysis. The punchline is simple. The public thinks the game is stocks. The insiders know the game is access. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. Finance is supposed to be. Welcome to the real market.